So talk about that night. That you were the one in the car going into Syria, or was that the female cinematographer?
That was Rachel. Oh, she's
okay.
Yeah.
So what was the reason that you needed to work with her instead? I mean, why was she, and how did you find her?
Well, we all had babies during the making of this film. Katie had a baby, I had a baby, and Fred had a baby, and Peter had a baby, and obviously Anya and Ule had a baby. Thank goodness, because that made the film great.
They did that especially for us.
I mean, as documentary filmmakers, we have to sort of make a living. So there were certain times where I wasn't available, Katie wasn't available to shoot, to do sound, and you depend on other people. And it's hard. It's hard to sort of let that. Well, it's hard to delegate that kind of thing because it's very sensitive. It's very intimate. But finding Rachel and Jim Foley was pretty incredible. So they did a great job.
I was just going to tell the story of Marilyn, our amazing producer who's here. Marilyn was sort of tasked with finding somebody to go to Syria with Anya and Ule, and they had, the phone call was basically Marilyn calling somebody and saying, will you fly to Turkey, spend a few days there until you meet the right smuggler, and then smuggle across the border, et cetera. And I think, Marilyn could tell the story better, but she called, DP after DP after DP, and pretty much all of them said, I have to check with my wife or my girlfriend. And they all came back and were like, she said no. And then finally, because it was Syria, and then finally Marilyn called this 24-year-old woman who didn't have a wife or a girlfriend to say no. And she had a mom who Marilyn had to call every day and tell her that she was safe. And Marilyn got a lot of gray hairs over that one. But she did an amazing job. So, it's kind of interesting how people get into the work they get into, like which people take risks.
So what kind of danger were they in, and what kind of danger were you in making this movie? It looked like there were some risks.
When we were in Syria, when we were in Libya, when Rachel and Jim were in their respective places, I mean, you're in danger, but the truth is that the people who are there on the ground can't leave. And they're the ones who are stuck there. They're in danger every single day, and they can't get out. So, the E-Team, they go in, they take very calculated risks. They really weigh the risk with the reward. And they can get out. The people who are there, living in the countries they can't.
So these people are real heroes, and they're also performing a function that the journalists don't seem to be performing. They seem to be a valuable conduit for all of this information getting out.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that's changed since we started making this film is that the work of Human Rights Watch is filling a little bit of a void left from the lack of, there's fewer and fewer international journalists working, partly because in this field, partly because of the danger and partly because of all the things we know about the problems in journalism and the cutbacks. So, and there's also, interestingly, another counter trend, which is there's a lot of former journalists who are interested in making a difference, not just reporting the news, but kind of also instigating some change about what they're seeing. So a lot of the E-Team members are former journalists who kind of wanted to put a little more oomph behind what they were looking into. So that was sort of some backstory that interested us as well.